All right. Love these responses. Keep them coming in the chat. Use the chat for that kind of fun stuff for the reactions throughout today's presentation, where we'll talk about HireVue's use of Guru for onboarding and how they're using the support team to ramp new hires in Guru. Use the Q&A feature that's in Zoom for more pointed questions towards myself, towards our guest Kate, who I'll introduce here in a second, or towards the Guru team. So use the chat for the fun stuff. Use the Q&A for the questions. Q&A feature just lets us triage these things a little bit better and keep better tabs on those questions. So use those features accordingly. Thank you all for that. I'll go ahead and introduce myself now. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matt Guerin. I've been at Guru for over 6 years or so. I've served in all different kind of roles here at Guru, mostly customer facing, through implementation, through CSM and CSE roles, where I've guided customers of all shapes and sizes through best practices. And I was also a KCS certified instructor. I'm based out of Collingswood, New Jersey, hence my love of Bon Jovi and Springsteen. And an unrelated fun fact, I like to do these just because if you join these workshops, you should get at least one cool fun fact, if nothing else. So might as well front load it with the fun stuff. There is over 300 miles of mycelium in 1 cubic foot of soil. If you don't know what mycelium is, it's the mass branching part of a fungus. So a mushroom is like the top part, and then beneath the mushroom are all these little tendrils called mycelium that actually connects all the landscapes together and shares nutrients between trees and plants, which is just really cool. I don't know. Kate, you've got a brother who's a microbiologist, I think so. He probably knows all about this kind of stuff. But there's a fun fact. If you don't learn anything about Guru today, now you know what mycelium is and how many miles of mycelium there is under 1 cubic foot of soil. Cool. Let's get to know our guests. That is what we're here for. So, well, just one today. Rachel couldn't join us today because she's on vacation. But Kate, go ahead and introduce yourself and Rachel too, who's not here right now.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'm the customer support manager at HireVue. I'm very lucky to lead this little but mighty team. I'm based out of Rockville, Utah, which is right at the mouth of Zion National Park. I'm originally from Cambridge, Massachusetts, though, so how I ended up in Utah is a completely different story. I've been at HireVue for just over 5 years. January was my 5-year anniversary, starting in support and now up to the management position. A little fun fact, I love ceramics. I have a home studio that is, something's always in the works and craking and bracking it, or breaking and cracking. There we go, in the kiln. Always have small explosions, but it's fine. Rachel, who I'm so sad can't be here today, but is really the hero behind some of what we're talking about. She is one of our technical specialists. She lives in Wexford, Ireland. And if you ever need to know anything about Ireland, Rachel is more than happy to tell you. It is a mystical land. She's been a HireVue for just about 2 years. And loves animals. She has a small zoo at her house with 2 dogs, 3 turtles, 2 guinea pigs, and 2 micro squirrels. If you don't know what a micro squirrel is, neither did I. I had to Google it when I first got her on my team. They're the cutest things ever. What they do and how she plays with them, I don't know, but they're adorable.
Yeah, I don't know about anybody else, but I had not heard of 2 micro squirrels, and my Instagram feed is mostly animals and like earth science stuff, and I can't believe I hadn't seen this. Still need to see pictures of these. Yeah, I think that's really cool. But yeah, thanks so much, Kate. Really happy to have you here, and really excited to showcase all the work that you and Rachel have done when it comes to using Guru for onboarding specifically today. So thanks so much for joining us. Cool. So just for everyone to get settled in and know what's ahead, here's the agenda for today. And by the way, this workshop will be recorded and shared out afterwards, as will all of our workshops. So we'll start out today talking about the before times, if you will, how HireVue was onboarding new support agents kind of before using Guru for onboarding purposes. Then we'll talk about how they're using Guru for onboarding today and how it's changed that new hire experience. And then we'll talk about some of the plans that they have to evolve their new hire strategy and how Guru plays into that. Then we'll have open Q&A session where you can ask Kate anything, and then we'll recap and talk next steps and get you all out of here and on with the rest of your Thursday. So thank you all for joining us. Before we jump in with talking with Kate, I'm just going to launch a poll here, or Hillary, my director and helper here today. If you can launch that poll, onboarding with Guru, thank you. So go ahead and this will just help me get a baseline of where you all are at with using Guru for onboarding today. If you're here to just kind of learn, if you're already using it and just kind of want to see what other people are up to, or if you want to start leveraging it for your own purposes more. So this is really helpful information for us to have going in to this session and afterwards. So seeing the responses come in, this is great. Looks like most people haven't used Guru for this yet, so hopefully you'll get a lot of helpful tips and tricks out of today's session. All right, so let's jump in. Kate, coming to you. Tell us just a little bit about HireVue, what it is, what you all do, and a little bit more about your support team. You know, how big it is, what kind of what kind of things your support team does, where you support your customers, what avenues, and kind of what kind of sort of questions you all deal with. So just high level, talk about those things for us.
Yeah. So HireVue's a SaaS company. We support digital interviewing software, and then we have a few other products that can touch anywhere from the top to the bottom of the funnel during that hiring process. Our support team is about 30, and we have tier 1, tier 2, and then a tier 3 type support with our technical specialists. Our technical specialists will do like escalated customer cases, but as well, they're also really working with product releases and working on building enablement for our team. In the last few years, we've had 2 major acquisitions. So we went from having just like one solid platform where you could kind of be a SME and know it all, to really expanding to 3 different platforms that our support team is navigating. And really, when I say small but mighty, we have a 30-person team. About 22, 24 of that makes up our tier 1 and tier 2, where most of the volume goes. We support candidates that are going through the process and using our software. We also largely support users. This is where really our focus is, as well as our internal partners that are supporting the product.
Awesome. Thanks. Right. Do you have any sense of like your general sort of like ticket volume in a given week or month? Just how much
Yeah.
your team is kind of handling those 30?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So being around recruiting, there's a lot of ebb and flow to, when people are hiring in the different markets that we're in. So it can vary. I'll say around like 3,500 is kind of when we're in like our busy season, and that's the volume we're handling.
And that would be like in a month or
Yep, a month.
500. Yeah. Okay. And is that coming in mostly through like chat, email, phone support? What avenues do you support your customers in?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've done away with phone support for many reasons. So we support chat for our users and internal partners. And then you can always reach out via email. It's a form based from our sites.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. I think you're not alone. I feel like a lot of support teams in recent years have
It's
let
hard.
phone support kind of go by the wayside, though I know more certain industries have to lean on that more than others for sure.
Mhm.
Awesome. So specifically talking about onboarding now, now that we have sort of the context around what HireVue is and how the support team is sort of structured, what was onboarding new hires like before Guru?
Yeah. So being a support team, we have a fair bit of turnover, and then we also tend to hire seasonally just for some of that volume. We'll get in some contract work. So we're onboarding all the time. Onboarding traditionally is based in our Lessonly, Guru Slides, and Slack. It was really time consuming. So our onboarding program lasted 4 weeks of pretty like demanding in-person classroom time, and then another week of like a lot of shadowing, hand holding, making sure agents feel prepared before jumping in the queue. That was based in Lessonly and then just a really extensive slide deck.
Mhm.
Um, it's hard to take training away for a month, whether it's the people that we're getting into queue. We have a pretty urgent need when we're onboarding. And also it's hard to take one of our specialists, our tier 3, away from the work they're doing for an entire month to onboard. On average, we do like 3 or 4 onboarding classes a year. It's gonna change, and whatever we need is what we'll end up doing. But 4 seems to be where we land.
Yeah. And can you speak a little bit about so it sounds like you had like a high amount of sort of information overload up front, like in the new hiring
Yep.
process. Like there was just like decks and lessonly learnings, and they had to kind of ingest all this information in their first kind of couple weeks. And then there was this really long, drawn out period of like being shadowed with a sort of veteran agent that was, sucking away your veteran agent's time, right, too. And then
Yep.
those new hires were having to, it sounds like they were maybe having to lean on that agent if they did have like a lot of questions throughout that process.
Yep. We saw a lot of like a buddy behavior coming out of onboarding, and specifically for whoever they ended up shadowing, they would just be going to them constantly for questions throughout the day, which given the materials we had, that was the best resource at the time. So it
Right.
made sense, but happy to say we've been able to move away from that.
Yeah, and part of what led you to move away from that was the aforementioned acquisitions that you were talking about, right? Where
Yep.
um can you shed a little bit more light on like sort of what drove that need to change and how those acquisitions sort of impacted the team?
Yeah, for sure. There was a lot of knowledge that wasn't documented, but you would just get used to it being in one platform day in and day out. It was a lot easier to become a SME when the scope was smaller. Once we started acquiring more products and, not having integrated platforms yet or not sunsetting platforms yet, agents are now logging into, 3, 4, 5 different platforms, and we just can't expect them to be SMEs in all of them. So we really found this like pretty immediate need to change in the way we were providing information and how quickly agents could access it. I love Lessonly, and like we still utilize it a ton for our onboarding process. That being said, it wasn't giving our agents that like real-time access to knowledge that they needed.
Right. Yeah. And we'll see a little bit more of that in a sec too. And I think it's important to call out here that I think the acquisition, not only in terms of getting new people into HireVue, but also getting new products into HireVue, right? All of a sudden your offerings increased dramatically in complexity, and that just necessitated needing to have better documentation and needing to have that documentation be easier to find for all these new people too, right?
For sure. And we didn't
Um,
want to see any quality dip in our team.
right.
We wanted them to still be able to act as those like truly technical SMEs and give our users that confidence in using our platform.
Yeah, and it all makes so much sense too when you think of like I don't know if you know this, Kate, but and other people here may or may not, but like Guru was founded during an acquisition during those exact pains. Like when our co-founder Rick Nucci sold off Boomi to Dell, they had to come up with a way to communicate all this complex information about the two products to those new people during that acquisition, and that's really where Guru was born. So you kind of discovered the reason for Guru in your own sort of natural path there. So I think that's really cool. Um, so now that you've integrated Guru more into your onboarding process, talk us through a little bit more of what that looks like today, now that you are using Guru more for onboarding.
For sure. So like very high level, I think the game changed to making someone, a technical SME in the platform to like making someone feel confident in where they can find the answers quickly and speak to them with confidence. So that's where we shifted. Today for our onboarding, our team is invited to Guru on day 1. And we have some exciting stuff in the future, but I won't jump too far ahead, Matt. So the team is invited on day 1, becoming familiar with the app, how to search within the app. Then we go to we still use a slide deck for a majority of training just to provide a framework. Now in our Lessonly, instead of housing a lot of that, kind of like stale content or like very stagnant, we've changed to linking out to Guru cards. So where the Lessonly may, give context and describe when you would use it, it's still linking out to a resource that the team can find quicker and easier moving forward. We have a designated Slack channel for questions that come in, and this is, supported by Guru, and then answering tickets in week 1 with Guru by their side with our little extension.
Yeah. Thanks for walking us through that. I love and we'll see more of the Slack channel experience in a second and more of the answering tickets as well in a second here. Just wanted to touch a little bit more on the Lessonly side of things and the deck side of things. We historically at Guru have talked about the kind of relationships between LMSs and Guru being sort of complementary, and that the LMS is kind of like the classroom sort of experience where you go, you kind of listen to the teacher, you go through your courses, and you get a lot of good information, but Guru is that textbook that you actually get to take home with you and reference later on. When you actually start doing that job, you can come to Guru and like check that information with Guru a lot more easily than you can having to go back and Lessonly. So it sounds like in that old model where you were more heavily reliant on front loading a lot of information in those deck trainings in Lessonly, that like if people wanted to go back to some of that foundational information, they would have to go all the way back into that LMS, right? And then try to find it in there. Is that sort of what it was like before?
Yeah, exactly. We even used to give the advice of when you're first starting to work, your first independent 2 independent weeks, to have Lessonly open next to you and just like scroll through those lessons. And we have so many at this point with all the different platforms that it's like it's too much. You don't want to flip through the textbook every time. You want to pull up the card and get a quick answer and keep moving.
Yeah, totally. And I like now that you have it embedded, the Guru cards embedded into to Lessonly in there, it kind of reinforces awareness of Guru and also tells them like, oh, don't worry, you'll be able to find this information later on again if you need it really easily in Guru, right?
Yeah, something that I think is a good call out for our support team. They're seeing the same, 10 to 20 questions again and again and again. So those 10 to 20 questions, they know how to process them. They know exactly what to expect. It's all of the other little nuances that come in that are going to throw them for a loop and be like, well, I haven't seen this exact issue in about 3 weeks. What am I supposed to do?
Right. Yeah, and something that they might do. Here's an example. If you just want to talk us through what's going on here in this quick little video.
Yeah, so we work out of Zendesk, which love Zendesk to death. And with our Guru extension, you can see that it's going to suggest cards based on the content that's showing up within Zendesk. Our agents will open up the extension. They'll switch over to the correct support team collection, except Matt just taught us how to fix that issue. They'll ask their question and then keeping their Zendesk ticket open so they can continue to fill out fields or leave internal notes. They're going to start getting those answers on the side. You'll see we have the answer populating here, and then they grab it directly from here. They have other cards to reference for resources if they need them. And again, they can just keep moving in the system that they're currently in on the ticket, close it out, move to the next.
Yeah, yeah, I love that for anybody that didn't maybe catch the quick change. I'm trying to find it back here. Yeah, so changing from the Guru knowledge agent to the support team knowledge agent. So we'll talk a little bit more about the knowledge agent in a few minutes. But you all built a knowledge agent directly designed to support your support team. We talked about, I also let you know, you can actually pin that knowledge agent to the Zendesk URL. So they won't even need to actually do that switching in the future. Should you all opt to make that change, that's an option there. But just love seeing this example, real world example here sort of laid out of your team actually, using Guru on the job. So this is a great example of something that they may do in their first or second weeks of Guru. Just they know where the resources are, they know how to use Guru, and so they feel comfortable responding to these questions that maybe they don't actually know the answer of, but they can trust that the information that they find in Guru is actually accurate, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Love that. Awesome. Okay, let me just pause for questions. I see IR asked if it was reading Zendesk content. Yeah, Guru does have the power to do that via the extension. So just to call out here, eagle-eyed people might notice the Guru green button down there. That is a feature called AI Suggest Text, feature we've had for a while now. Okay, I don't think you all have officially launched that feature for the team yet. It's a little bit newer to your plan in a recent renewal, so you're still kind of working on sort of rolling that out and carving out some rules of the road there. But that is an ability that Guru has on certain plans where inside of certain ticketing tools like Zendesk and other customer ticketing platforms, if the extension is installed, they can see the contents of the ticket and proactively suggest cards to those users there. So that is one way that we can sort of quote unquote read Zendesk and proactively suggest content there. Um, and and yeah, same kind of question came in through the Q&A there. Okay, cool. Any other questions? All right, cool. Let's move on to taking a little bit closer look of what you actually have in your Guru. So in terms of onboarding content, let's jump into your support collection here. So Kate, can you maybe just talk us through how you structured this support collection and what kind of information we find in here?
Yeah, of course. So we have some just like general, you'll see all team processes and procedures, escalation, our support systems. And then below that, you'll see T2O, HV4, and those are our platform specific knowledge. That's such a funny call out. We've put a lot of time and work into keeping our Guru up to date and content relevant for the team. So we do try and keep a high verification score.
Yeah.
Um, Matt, were we going to look at some of the
Yes.
team processes? Okay.
Yeah. So it looks like you've got under team processes where you house your onboarding
Yep.
folder here. So seems like everything in this collection would probably be useful to people on their job in the first week, right? It's a lot of like your process and product information that they're going to be
Yep.
answering questions around. Um,
Mhm.
so that's all great to have in new hires hands too. But maybe talk us through the support cheat sheet card or some of the cards that you find that your new hires are finding especially valuable in this onboarding folder.
Yeah, I think when you're a new hire, it's a little bit of a different game that you're playing because you don't know what questions to always ask. You need a place, a jumping off point, and this is where these cheat sheets come in handy, where we can link out to other common resources, common questions that you're going to see in your first few weeks on the job.
Yeah. So you kind of broken out these. Looks like a lot of these are like kind of Google Docs or slides and things, and you've sort of
Mhm.
chunked them out by different categories that are, I guess, like frequent kind of questions or frequent
Yep.
processes that they may have to reference.
Yep, exactly. We do a lot of ongoing reporting, of course, for like where are we seeing the highest volume, why people are reaching out to our team, and then we'll use some of that to, that's a great question too, Christopher. We'll use some of that to determine what content we want to include in here and where our focus needs to be right at the beginning.
Yeah, I love that. Did you want to speak to that question that Chris asked? So how do you decide between what you
Yeah.
can card or a Google Doc?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the best answer, but it's an honest answer. I tend to see a lot of the resources that we house in our Google Drives are across departments. So it may not be a document that that we're not owning, but our team is linking out as like a source of truth. If it is something that our team owns, we always make a Guru card. And even if it is going to go out to a doc, we still try and house it in a Guru card just because I love the search engine in Guru and it's easy for the team to find. We never tell our team to go directly into Drive and search. So we make, Guru that one center of truth.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I'm sure there's a lot of folks here that have Guru for their team, and other teams at the company don't have Guru, and so I'm sure there's a mix, of where stuff is documented and stored, and where you might put that information for different reasons when it comes to cross-departmental sharing. Um, any other cards that we may want to speak to here? I love this support glossary card that's just kind of like we're both in the SaaS world where there's, SaaS itself is kind of an annoying acronym, right? And there's just like so many acronyms and definitions to like familiarize yourself with. So I love that you just have this kind of quick and easy kind of reference guide here. So I love that.
Yeah.
Any other cards or resources that you want to speak to here before we move on?
Um, I mean, just personally, I love like the rules of engagement. I also love the team bios. We don't have to click into that one, but rules of engagement is really, we have 5 rules of engagement that our team lives by, and we, recognize them based off of these rules. And if we have any performance improvement plans, things like that, we'll always still go back and really focus in on these like core values that we expect from the team and from
Yeah.
ourselves.
Totally. That's great. Makes a lot of sense. I think there's like a lot of good just I love that you've curated a folder for your new hires so they, like you said, when they don't know what questions to ask, they can come here and get a lot of foundational information. They can get to know their team. They
Yeah.
can, figure out what pages they need to bookmark in their in their browser and stuff so they can really get set up for success and use this collection and this folder as a jumping off point to finding what they need.
Yeah, we get a lot of feedback that new hires will spend any downtime going through our resources and getting familiar with what's available to them, whereas some of our more senior agents probably never click into the collection, but they're just using the search functionality again because they know what they're looking for.
Right. Yeah. And when it comes to that search functionality too, like you've talked about how you have a Slack channel set up for asking questions. Can you talk a little bit about how you're using the Guru Slack integration to support your new hires?
Yeah, this has been a game changer for us, for new hires and also just across the team. So we've created a question-specific Slack channel where all agents will direct their questions to first. And then if they still need support from the team or they need additional clarity, they'll bring it to like a more public internal support channel that we have. Again, a lot of what we are seeing is kind of that like buddy system mentality that new agents weren't feeling either confident in the information or they just needed someone to like give them a gut check that they were doing the right thing. And having the Slack integration has been like such a huge solve for that, where they can go ask a question, get the resources they need. If they still need a gut check, they can post it, but they're 80% of the way with having an email drafted versus being like 20% of the way, not even knowing what information to look for. So like we've called out here, so before launching the Knowledge Agent, we had over 100 posts in our internal support team Slack channel with an average of 3 to 5 posts within a thread. What this really is it's losing our experts' time. So our more senior agents, our tier 2 or tier 3 agents that are working on those escalated cases are taking time to go and support the rest of the team and answering these questions. We are seeing some impacts on our handle times, of course, just because, we have a few agents, and we kind of saw this again and again, where they're our highest performers, and we started seeing their ticket volumes decline for the number of tickets they're taking. And it's not that they're not putting in the work, it's that they're supporting the rest of the team with answering questions, but it's having an impact on like their overall performance because, they're not keeping up and having to take time away to support the team. Also, our first reply times are being impacted because people are stepping away from their own cases and tickets they're working to support others. Post the Knowledge Bot, we have 500 more cases than early December, so that's a good call out. And we're seeing about 60 posts in Slack. So there's a reduction in questions and time back and overall improvements for the rest of those, more skilled team members.
I love that. So like as they've ramped up and gotten more knowledge through Guru and leveraged the great answers being produced by the knowledge agent, which we'll talk more about in a sec. Even though you all are getting, not a small amount more of cases, 500 more cases than you had in the same span of time in December. There's less questions coming in. The expertise has been disseminated a bit from those veteran expert brains and put into Guru, shared out in Slack, and disseminated really programmatically through the knowledge agent and through Guru in general. It's really, really cool.
And even now, when agents are asking questions, they're still pulling in the Slack conversation that they had and the Guru response they received. So again, it's jumping off from a very different point of this is the information I was provided. Now, maybe I don't know what to do with it, but it's still more of a jumping off point than just asking like can you look at X ticket with no context?
Mm, yeah, totally. Um, Yeah, and I saw another question here come into the chat. And again, if you all can put it's totally okay if you put them in the chat, no worries. If you can put them in the Q&A feature, that just helps us a little bit more. But no worries if you pop them in the chat. Christine asked if if this agent is in a public channel where everyone could see the posts and questions and answers.
Yeah, so for us, it is. We set up a channel. We've been training a specific bot for that channel. We like to have the visibility of what's being asked. It also helps drive where we build content. We send out like monthly enablement. They're just like, 15 to 30-minute lessons, reminders, things like that. So having that visibility helps us.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, and I think your support team channel is technically like a private Slack channel, right?
Mhm.
But like you can have a knowledge agent in, a private Slack channel or, an actual public kind of Slack channel where anybody can join. But yeah, that is huge there just to double hit on that point of like, yeah, you want to be able to have everyone benefit from the questions that are being asked and answered so that everybody can learn. If one person has a question, odds are somebody else has that same kind of question and they can see those answers produced there. And I'd love to just talk a little bit more about how you designed and tested that knowledge agent. So let me shift gears over to your Guru instance here. And if I come into manage and you have admin access, you'll see your knowledge agents dashboard where you can come in here and create new knowledge agents. So I'm going to scroll down to the support team knowledge agent that you've built, and we can see that there's a couple of specific experts, and this has been shared mostly with people on the support team, right? So only folks on the support team are going to have access to this knowledge agent and be able to use that. Tell me a little bit about how you all sort of thought about standing this up, what sort of sources you plugged into it, and we'll talk a little bit about the prompt here in a sec too.
Yeah. There's been a lot of growth in launching our knowledge agent. And a huge shout out to Rachel, who we spoke about earlier, one of our technical specialists. The way that she's tested and fine-tuned this bot is truly amazing. So we're lucky that a lot of our product information is housed in Guru. So that's obviously like going to be one of our first stop for resources and how the product's functionality, new product releases that come out. I don't know about the rest of the people on this call, but we went from having product releases every 2 months, and now we've pushed back quarterly. But it's always this game of, staying up with innovation, but then also making sure we're staying up to date internally with what's changing and making sure our team is speaking to the newest and greatest, recommending best practices, things like that. So those are some of the sources we've linked out to, as well as our own support collection. I will say something that I feel like we're continually reflecting on is our support collection was a lot of like nuances or hyper technical information, which is necessary. I think we're starting to take a step back now to put some of those more like foundational basics in, and even some of our like process information. So agents can really leverage Guru for like, clock in, clock out, anything that's happening during their workday. They can go to ask questions and get advice on.
Yeah, love that. I also love here seeing the product questions Slack channel that you all have and
Yeah.
the internal support team channel that you have as sources to the knowledge agent. So the questions and answers that are produced in the conversations in those Slack channels are actually going to feed into the responses that this knowledge agent is able to give. Was that because you just wanted to be able to quickly close those knowledge gaps, like if questions were answered in those Slack channels and there's there's a lag time between getting that information that's used to answer the question maybe documented into Guru. With this
Yep.
hooked up as sources, it can automatically ingest those answers and instantly reproduce answers using that information. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Product questions always internally for us is a great resource for some of those like really nuanced, like nitty gritty technical details that may not live in a Guru card because they're too in the weeds, but are perfect for some of the questions that our support team is asking.
Yeah. Totally. Let's shift over to the prompt here really quick. Can you speak to maybe a little bit about how you thought through? I think Rachel maybe did a lot of this designing, so if you don't know, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, curious, like if there was any conversations around how you wanted this prompt to respond, like when it comes to formatting or tone of voice, anything at all with the prompt that you want to shed light on.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest call outs is we had a bit of a learning curve as we support multiple platforms. So a good example is candidate deletion is something we receive across 3 different platforms. So an agent would ask a question and they would get a response that's incorrect because it's for the wrong platform. So we kind of took a step back and we were like, okay, not only do we have to update our content to clearly say which platform it is, but we have to tell our agent what they're doing, our knowledge bot, and the platforms that they're supporting. So you'll see as Matt's highlighting, we put in some of this kind of like, I don't know, it felt a little silly when we put it in, but it's like, of course, the bot needs to know that. The bot needs to understand its role and how it's supporting these agents. So I think that some of that has had a lot of payoff in the long run for it. And we're still fine tuning today. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
love that. I think it's important to give it that like background knowledge of like, okay, these are our platforms, these are ways that we refer to them. I love that you have like other things that they may be called, so it knows that those are, related or synonymous sort of terminology. I love that you all asked it to provide a link to our existing guru cards and that the tone of voice should be professional but casual and friendly. If I were to go back to that video, and y'all get this recording later, you can go back to that video if you want, but you'll see that in that response, that was in the extension over top of Zendesk, it actually did provide a link not only in the sources, but it provided a link to a helpful guru card, and the tone of voice was really casual and friendly, as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's great. And let's talk a little bit about the well, I'm missing a slide here. Ah, I had it skipped for some reason. Unskip that. Pardon me. Back in. Let's talk a little bit about the progress of the knowledge agent and sort of the results that you're seeing, and how you've gotten it to this state that you're really happy with today.
Yeah. So when we rolled out the knowledge agent, I think we were kind of just like, let's see what it can do. And just like, let's open it up to the team. We had a few weeks of our tier 3 testing, and we were grabbing questions literally from our internal support channel that agents were asking. And, I would grab them and drop them into these test channels we had set up to see what type of answer it produced. So I think once we gained trust and like, okay, most of the responses it's providing, we feel comfortable with. So we're going to open it up to the team. We opened it up to the team, and I'm not sure who's used it before, but there's a thumbs up, thumbs down based on the content you're providing. So when we open it up to the team, we started to see a little bit of I don't want to say like concerning behavior. Maybe we were just like not ready to roll it out to that extent yet, but we would see agents thumbs down something where it's like, okay, this actually was like almost the right response. So like we're really close to it. We just have to go do some fine tuning. So right now our agents will ask questions, and then Rachel and another one of our technical specialists are going in and reviewing those responses pretty manually. So right now it's a time consuming process for us. Again, though, it has been a huge benefit to the team, and already with like the amount of time we've put into fine tuning that process, looking at the responses that are given, we've seen like a huge improvement in the bot itself. So all of that's been really promising and been like, okay, this is worth our time and investment to continue to build it out. What am I missing, Matt?
No, nothing. I think you touched on all of it. I think the Rachel had mentioned that she hadn't needed to change the prompt in a couple weeks, that there had been some
hmm
initial kind of like tweaking and stuff, but the prompting seems to be behaving as well as you all want it to. And I think it's a really important story to tell. There's AI is still so new, and a lot of people have varying levels of knowledge and context about what it can and can't do. And I think it's really helpful to hear that, like, even though this was something that, required some upfront work with, coming in and training it, that action was that those actions were actually really helpful for you all, not only in
Yeah.
producing, getting it to produce better and better answers and the kind of responses that you want it to produce, but also it was helpful for you all, it sounds like, in a kind of exercise of evaluating your content. Like it showed you
Yep.
where you can improve your content, right? It showed you where agents were having confusion because maybe there was like duplicative information or overlapping information, or the wording was kind of confusing. So it's allowed you to maybe create better like enablement and create better cards going forward. Would you agree
Yeah.
with all that, I guess?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's like when we would get a kind of concerning response from the bot, the first question is like, okay, well, where to pull that information from? And it did lead us to a lot of like, all right, yeah, this card is confusing. We need to clean it up. And then we'd ask the same exact question again after cleaning the card up, and we'd see a better response. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So even though it wasn't the, you know, magical AI wizard that maybe a lot of people, like, still understandably, myself included, when I first started learning about AI, I expected it to just know everything and be everything, right? But even with you needing to do that sort of fine tuning, it was a worthwhile exercise for so many different reasons, and I think that's a really important kind of cognitive, I don't know, paradigm to kind of have if you're thinking about investing more in AI or standing up a knowledge agent. So thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
Um, and overall, how has, the not only the knowledge agent and the Slack integrations and the Guru extension living in their workflow, and the increased sort of ramp time to moving from that state pre-Guru where it was kind of all front loaded and it was really drawn out process. Now you're moving more quickly, you're moving more efficiently, you're asking more of your new hires more quickly in their
Mhm.
onboarding process. So how's it been received by the new hire teams?
Yeah. I don't know if we highlighted this actually, but our traditional onboarding was, that 4 weeks, so a month plus another week of just like very closely watching, shadowing, reverse shadowing. We've gotten our onboarding process down to 2 weeks, really
Yeah.
like shifting our mindset that we're not going to go in and everyone's not going to retain the information that we're throwing at them in these lessons and reading through this like extensive materials, and really down to 2 weeks of just like how to best use our systems, how to look for information, and then setting them up for success long term. Yeah, 50% reduction is huge. Also, just like for the time at which we can hire and then get them in the role, we just found it so necessary. I'm sure everyone can relate to that, that it's like it's a pretty urgent need to fill. So yep, decreased our ramp time from 5 weeks down to 2 weeks. Again, Guru shout out, huge part making those real-time resources available. Scalable expertise, so drastic team changes with acquisitions. We went from that one platform to four platforms, understanding that the game is changing from really knowing and being a SME in the platform to understanding where you're going to find the information needed to best support our customers. And then, yeah, we have really high adoption rates. I think if you asked any member of our support team today, they'd be like, I probably search in Guru, like 10 to 15 times a day. It's very one for one in what they're working on.
Yeah, I love that. And just to highlight some of the user sentiment too here, you all have a sort of survey that you sent out. Do you feel prepared to go solo? That gets sent out at the end of the
Yep.
first week. Is that right?
hmm Yeah, so that's right when they're finishing their onboarding. And then the second is 2 weeks after their onboarding.
Gotcha. And so thanks in large part to Rachel's efforts and all
Yep.
the great trainings that she does, and then also having Guru as a reliable sort of resource for them on the job. 87% of the new hires said that they feel prepared to go solo, and then a month later, 100% confident that they're confident in their work on their own. So that's great. Love the quotes over here on the left hand side as well. People just feeling really prepared and really loving the structure of your onboarding process. And there's still improvements yet to come, right? So what does tomorrow
Yep.
look like for your onboarding process? Specifically, let's, I guess, maybe take a look at that page that y'all are building out.
Yeah, so I think once Pages rolled out, Rachel and I jumped at the opportunity to get one built out for onboarding, and credit goes to Rachel here for the work she's done. But our hope, we haven't used it yet, but our hope for our next onboarding class is this will really be the core. So moving away from the need for like a slide deck and going through like our agenda day to day, things like that, making this really be their hub where they go, they log in, they look at this, they know what to expect for the day. You'll see right below, we have some of those like top hitter cards to save for the team. We have our team bios over on the slide, which again, I love just for getting to know your coworkers. It's just a little slide deck. It's very cute. It has a picture, what you like, what your hobbies are, just to give new hires like talking points with their coworkers and getting that community built. We have useful links and resources. A lot of these they're going to use, day to day in their first 2 weeks of onboarding. We have our T2O, our HV4, all of those are platform specific cards. And then right down at the bottom, we have our rules of engagement that we chatted through earlier, but really setting from the beginning, this is the precedent of what we expect. And also, to an extent of like how you're evaluated among the team. And then end of day training pulse survey. This is linked out to a form, which makes sense why it's not showing here. But they fill it out at the end of every day. They note which day they're on. And it's just like a few simple questions of like, what are your biggest takeaways from the day? Is there any content you're feeling uncomfortable with? So Rachel will review those at the end of the day, and then going into the next day, she just feels prepared on where everyone is and kind of where we need to focus that day's content.
That's really, really cool. Yeah, and you've got a calendar embedded over here. All this stuff
Yeah.
works on your side, but because I'm
Yeah.
not your team and I'm not in your Google instance, it doesn't work for me. But it does work for your new hires and for everybody on the team. So loving the look of this page. I think it's so fun. I think all the GIFs and things are such a delight. I love just like the top of the page here, just having just kind of like here's your schedule, here's what you're gonna, here's what to expect, here's your daily routine, and just really front loading it with the most important stuff, and making it just like a really nice resource for the new hires. So this is
Yeah.
super excited for you all to onboard again with a new class and try this out for the first time.
Yeah. One other call out is we do have a page built for our support team, which again, we've just continued to push to make the hub. We push announcements through there for the team. They know who's on call for the weekend. So having this set up for onboarding, getting them used to it for the first 2 weeks is then a really easy transition over to our expectations that the other Guru page is your hub moving forward.
Love that. Yeah, we didn't talk about showing that, so I don't want to go ahead and show it in case there's any sensitive information on there. But yeah,
That's
love
fair.
that. They're using the support team, just a page for the support team as a hub for them as well, and that they're really taken to that. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Kate, thank you so much. Let's open it up to questions from the audience. If anybody wants to come off mute, ask a question, feel free. Hillary, if there anything came through in the Q&A that we should talk about publicly, let us know. So I'm going to leave an awkward amount of silence here, just for 10 seconds or so to see if anybody wants to ask a question.
Not a question, but thanks so much for presenting this.
Yeah.
This is mind-blowing.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. I'm glad you found it valuable, and yeah, second
I
that.
found it so valuable. I have not been able to stop slacking the people who I need to see this workshop.
Wow.
Love. Good.
Right. This is
Huge shout out to Matt. He answers questions or was answering questions from us daily on, how we can better utilize these resources.
thank you. Yeah, Kate, looks like we got a question from Chris in the chat. Chris, always appreciate the questions. Thank you. How long did the shift take from lessonly heavy to a guru heavy onboarding measured in
Yeah.
resources and time?
Yeah. So a lot of the guru content was already there, but it wasn't linked out in our Lessonlys. So I'll say that it took us, it was about a month-long project that Rachel really owned in getting our Lessonlys like overhauled and updated. The benefit to that is we were able to remove a ton of content from Lessonly that again was that like really stagnant. So we scaled down our Lessonly, kept the context of like when you're using this, what a deletion request mean, things like that, and then just linked out to Guru cards. So yeah, probably a month-long project.
Yeah, 1 month, one person, easy answer.
Yeah,
Great.
huge bang for our buck though.
Heck of a one person though. Rachel did an amazing job. So yeah,
Yeah,
no
she's
small.
amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Hope she's having a great time on vacation and maybe with
Yeah.
all of her pets along the way too. I don't know. Maybe she's traveling with the turtles and everything. Jessery asking any recommended best practices to measure interactions with the onboarding page. I can field this, Kate, because I
Yeah.
think we've got analytics on pages coming really, really soon. Hillary, I think it's okay for me to say, if not too late, we can bleep me out and post. But we're gonna have analytics on pages coming pretty soon. I think in the next month or so. So that'll show kind of page views and some sort of basic analytics that you might expect. In terms of actual interactions, depends on what's being linked out there. You could always, measure card views as a way to sort of gauge interactions. If you put a card on a page and that card's views increase, you can maybe correlate that to, it being featured on the card. And then, but if you're linking out to resources elsewhere, then you may want to lean on the data of those the sources where those resources are hosted there. Anything you want to add there?
We love.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we haven't used it a ton for onboarding, but I was even thinking about it just this morning, how we could leverage the announcements for onboarding and, making sure that's such a simple thing, but it's like, did you clock in today? It's a new system for a brand new employee. So clocking in, clocking out for lunch, clocking out for the day, it's normal that they're going to miss it. I'll say that for our support team, we leverage announcements a ton to make sure that people are reading and recognizing that like ongoing relevant information. We have a ton of innovation in our products, so things change all the time. And I'll say that weekly we look at who's acknowledged their announcements, and if they haven't, we go and ping them and make sure they do.
Yeah, great call out. Announcements certainly helpful there. Christine, has Guru thought of making templates for onboarding to make setting this up a little easier? We have, Christine. Don't know if when or if we're doing that. I don't think we can speak to that at this point. But yes, we've thought about it. Definitely relay that feedback to our product team, though, that would be something of interest to you. I will say we have content blocks now. If you haven't checked out pages in the past like 2 months, you can create content blocks really easily so that this kind of 2-panel view or this sort of block of cards. These are really easy to develop, and you can kind of just drop in like a block of like 4 equally sized or 3 equally sized images or card links or things like that. So it is pretty quick to stand up. I don't know, Kate, do you know how long maybe it took Rachel to maybe get the bulk of this designed?
Yeah, like a day.
Yeah.
We've definitely fine-tuned it since then, but we had like a call with all of our leadership and we were all building pages at the same time. Like it really is so intuitive. I love it.
Yeah, love that. But Christine, I can definitely kind of get what you're maybe looking for more, a little bit of like, oh, you should, put these types of resources here on the page or put links to this kind of information here on this page. So yeah, I think some of those guardrails could really be helpful. Yes, cool. Would love to see some templates. Yeah, awesome, Brenda. We'll give that feedback to the team. Really appreciate y'all sharing that. And I'll ask one more, or not one more thing, but I will ask maybe Christina, I might come to you first, since you shared that you found this so valuable. But if there's anybody else that would maybe just like to share one quick thing that they may want to change about your onboarding process today, based on what you heard here today, or anything that you found like super interesting and of value.
So
Yeah.
we're literally looking at standing up onboarding inside of Guru, and we're testing it for our GTM folks. So we had we're in draft mode right now, setting up our first meetings, talking about it. And we were going to be going with, a day one, day two sort of format in a very scheduled, heavy kind of learner, like LMS mode almost. And I'm really interested to talk to my enablement folks about the idea of serving it the way you guys are serving it, which is, commonly used information that you're going to use at your base level. Sort of more like people aren't going to remember this 5 days of really intensive training. What do they really need to know and when? That's just a really interesting shift in the thinking about it. And just seeing it really well built out gives me a lot of energy for what is about to be a little bit of a project and a bit of a busy quarter. So,
Yeah, Christina, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm music to my ears. It's really what I hope to hear when we do these kind of workshops. And I'm sorry I keep skipping through slides here by accident. But we're almost to the hour, so I'm just going to start wrapping things up here. Just to recap, hopefully you all learned some of these things here today about how Guru can help onboard new agents with more on-the-job kind of learning, how Guru can pair with an LMS and classroom trainings to serve as that kind of virtual textbook, new capabilities like pages and knowledge agents, and how those can level up the onboarding experience. And it sounds like, at least some of you took away what great can really look like here, and got some inspiration. So that's awesome. And I would love to hear just quickly what you all thought. Hillary, if you can launch the NPS poll for us really quickly. This will be the second to last thing I ask of you all here today. So just give us a ranking 1 to 10, how valuable you found this. Is really helpful for me to know as I put on more of these workshops. It gives me a guidepost of what's really serving you all the most. And then after this poll here, and just a couple responses left, I'm going to ask just one more open-ended question of you all. I think we can maybe close this one out now, Hill. And the last question I'll ask of you is just open-ended. What was a key takeaway? You can keep it really short. You can get really long with it, whatever you want to share. But are you able to launch that one okay, Hill? Or... oh, there we go. Okay. Awesome. So just love to hear that open-ended response. Really helps me understand what was valuable to you all, so that, I can make these workshops, and we can all make these workshops better going forward. So really appreciate your responses, and most of all, really appreciate you, Kate. Thank you so much for your time here today. It was really awesome talking to you, and really appreciate all the amazing work you and Rachel have done. So thank you so much.
Of course, always happy to chat.
Awesome. Well, once you all are finished up that poll, be sure to check out the community, where you can get more inspiration. You can see other people's awesome pages that they've built in the community. Check out the workshops that we have coming up. We have open office hours and monthly release roundup next Thursday. So I'll talk through all the releases that came out in the past 2 months, big and small, and it'll be just an open forum where you can ask anything, continue the conversation there with me. And then on March 6th, we have our Essentials series, really foundational kind of need to know information. If you're just getting started with Guru, we'll talk about all the ways that you can find information with Guru and best practices around, searching, asking questions, and all the places that you can do those kinds of things. So come to that. If you're looking for some more foundational information, recommend that to your peers, or folks newer to Guru, or people who just want to really freshen up on what's new with Guru. That'll be a sort of top to bottom deep dive of all the ways that you can find information with Guru. So, all right, I'm one over. I'm sorry. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your responses. Hope to see you again in future workshops. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week.